welcome to Delta Lodge Outdoors. I'm your host, Julius Craig. This is a show where we attempt to bring quality information on topics to people and work and listen from our viewers and guests on what's going on in the industry and just overall have fun. You might learn something, you might not, but we're going to have fun doing it. So on today's podcast, I'm going to have Mr. Bill Hart with us. I'm about to patch him in. Hey, Mr. Bill, how are you?
I'm doing good.
All right, just got you live and going here. If you want to give the guys and gals that listen to us a rundown on who you are and what everything, so we can we'll roll into it.
All right, my name's Bill Hart. I've lived in Oklahoma since about 1976. Kind of cut my teeth on deer hunting back in Texas when I was a kid, and then moved to Oklahoma when I was in high school, and just have hunted up here ever since. I've got a Facebook page called Hartbeat of Oklahoma Outdoors. It's got quite a few followers that I put most of my hunting stuff on. I'm also an admin on the Oklahoma Bow Hunter page. I'm an admin on the Oklahoma Whitetail page, and I'm moderator on the Oklahoma Deer Hunters page. Just kind of trying to keep up with all the deer hunting stuff that's going on around the state, and that's about it.
All right, so we'll dive into. I know you usually have a pretty good success rate. So tell us what you look for and what makes you successful. Because I know everybody's a little different, and then we'll dive into just some things of who got you into hunting, when you started, and all that.
All right. Well, I guess my grandfather really was the guy that got me into the outdoors. My dad did quite a bit too, but he was, as most dads are, he was working, trying to make a living for the family, and didn't really have a whole lot of time to do stuff, as far as hunting and getting out and doing stuff. But he did get us out quite a bit. But my grandfather on my mother's side in Louisiana is really the one that got me hunting and fishing.
And that was another thing I was going to dive into there, because I'm a Louisiana guy myself, and you're originally from Shreveport, I think is what, and I saw. Then that's where my wife's from. How'd you end up in Oklahoma?
Well, I was born in Shreveport. My dad and mom lived in Shreveport. My grandfather and grandmother lived in Shreveport. I had a lot of relatives, still do have a lot of relatives in South Louisiana. When I was my dad worked for J.C. Penney's and was a manager, and he quit J.C. Penney's and went with Bell's Department Store, which was at the time a Texas brand. And we ended up moving to Texas, and we lived in, we lived in Houston, Palestine, Austin, Laredo, Denison, Texas. And then my junior year in high school, he came up to a Bell's department. He got transferred to a Bell's in Ardmore, Oklahoma. And really, except for a couple of years of living back in Texas when I was an adult, I've lived in Oklahoma ever since then.
Okay. Yeah, I'm actually originally from South Louisiana. My wife's from Shreveport. Then about closing in on 3 years ago now, we moved to Oklahoma. So
yeah.
It's hunting here is totally different than what hunting in Louisiana is.
Yeah, it's different. It's totally different from living in Texas. I grew up in South Texas, where we would sit on a sendero or sit on a corn feeder, and it, you would try to get a stand as where you could see. And when I moved to Oklahoma, I tried that same philosophy. I would put a stand where I could see the farthest I could possibly see, and that didn't work in Oklahoma. You get in that timber and you want to get back in the thickness and try to get back there where the deer are. And of course, in Oklahoma in the 70s, there weren't a whole lot of deer anyway.
No. I know just in the last probably 10, 15 years, their population's really, showing a big uptick in growth. But it's like, so you've seen it at its lows, then you see it at its highs now, and or as it's getting higher, we'll go into that. So what have they changed? Like, since you brought the 70s up, I'm not familiar with what the rules used to be. I know now they're like 4 does and 2 bucks, or all 6 does. How's that changed over the last, 2 decades, 3 decades of you?
Well, there was a time when I was a kid when you could not kill does. I mean, does were looked at as a kind of a sacred thing. They're the ones that have the babies. And there's the mentality really nationwide back in the day was, you don't kill does, you kill buck, and you don't kill does. And it took a long time. I can't remember the exact year that you could kill, the first time you could kill a doe in Oklahoma, but when I was a kid, you couldn't do it. And of course, we'd go out and we'd walk around and we'd, climb up in a tree and sit in a tree. And it was a miracle if we, saw a track, much less a deer, back then. So, and every now and then we see some, and I killed my first bow deer in 1989, and I had lived in Oklahoma since 76. So 14 years after I moved to Oklahoma, I actually killed my first Oklahoma deer, and it was my first bow deer. So.
Oh, wow. I kind of giggled when you said that about the not seeing a track. I grew up hunting in a little town called Suntag, Mississippi. When I was younger, between the time I was 10 and like 20 years old, we hunted there in a hunting club, and we'd hunt all over South Louisiana on public land and everything. But our hunting club was there, and they ran deer dogs and everything, which is a totally different thing than like these. You mentioned that around. Talk about it with Oklahoma. It's like deer dogs in South Louisiana, Mississippi, and parts of Arkansas and everything is like man drives in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and everything.
Right.
But it's that same concept. Like it's that behind it. But what I was getting at with that is like Mr. Jack, he would, when I was, that age, 10 to 20, those 10 years, he was in his late 70s then, and he talked about how they used to drive around all day on all the property that they had leased and different people owned and everything, like, until they find a deer track, then get a dog and put on it and see if it was, still fresh enough that the dog could smell it to run a deer. Because he's like, we had no deer. And I'm like, and you look at how it's changed, and it's like, that's big. And what the sport, the guys that me, you, the others that buy a license and put our time in is what's created that over the years, and getting the right legislation with it and everything, which will lead me into the next thing with all the pages you run and deal with. You probably see a lot of the make Oklahoma a draw state, a $1 state. You think that's gonna gain any traction or what? I know we're getting a little.
I don't know. There's a select group of people that want it to gain traction. To me, it doesn't make a whole lot of difference either way to me, because I usually just kill one mature buck a year. So it's kind of I've imposed a $1 state, rule on myself, I guess. If I had a second big mature buck, come out in front of me, I'd probably shoot it too. But I don't know. It's Oklahoma right now has got some of the biggest deer, and a lot of it has to do with social media. You see a lot more of the deer with social media, but I guarantee you Oklahoma's got some of the biggest deer in the nation right now. And it's, we did that being a $2 state and being a 6 deer state. So, I don't know. It's just, I think if we could just educating people on, now I'm not going to ever begrudge anybody killing anything. If you want to kill a doe, great. If you want to kill a spike, great. If you want to kill a forkhorn every year, great. I personally like mature bucks. I like to kill mature bucks. I went through the stage of trying to kill every freaking deer I saw, but I've gotten to the point now where I try to pick out a deer and I try to hunt him and try to kill him. But it's, I don't know. It's just Oklahoma's got some really big deer, and there's a lot of out-of-state people that are wanting to come to Oklahoma because of it. And we did it being a $2 state, so I don't know how much being a $1 state's going to help a whole lot.
I kind of feel like it'll hinder us more than it'll help, just because, like, how many people are actually killing $2? It's
right.
I usually, like I said, shoot one. My place I hunt here, my private land I hunt right now. Like my youngest son, he's 10. He's the only one that hunts. My 12-year-old son doesn't, and I've imposed on my 10-year-old. I'm like, dude, you're not like, we have some nice bucks around here, and then we have so we got some up and comers, young deer. Then we got some mature bucks. I'm like, I'm not letting you shoot like a 150. Like I got some 150-inch bucks. I'm like, I'm not gonna let you shoot one of them as your first buck, because he's killed one doe, and like I put him on kind of a doe patrol, because I'm like, he looks like a little bobblehead doll when he sees a doe. I'm like,
yeah, right.
I'm like, the worst thing that's gonna happen to you is either A, you shoot that deer and you wound it, then we don't find it because you get so excited and you lost a good buck, and that's going to eat at you. Or you kill that 150 to 160-inch buck, then you're ruined because you're 10 years old and you think everything's supposed to be like that. I was like,
right.
I was like, I hunted, like, I laugh because, like, hunting Louisiana and hunting Mississippi, and, it goes back to, like, you're talking about not seeing deer. And it's like, the deer population wasn't bad when I hunted, but you didn't see good mature bucks. Like, And it's like moving up here, like, you know, I still hunt public land if I go down south and everything. And like I made a trip beginning of the first week of October. I went and met two of my buddies on a bow hunting only WMA in Louisiana. It was bow season, but it was a bow hunting only. So that's
Right.
and we went there and I met with them and we hunted and I put one of my buddies on a stand. I was like, dude, opening morning, you should kill a doe. He ended up messing around. He had four come out. One got busted at like 25 yards because like I told him, I was like, you need to be like, I was like, your feet need to be about 10 feet high. That's it. That's where you need to be. And he went like 17, 18 feet up a tree, got the canopy in the way. And I'm like, I told you where to be. He's like, I felt too low when I was there. I'm like, I've hunted that area. I've shot a doe there. But it's like, you know, like, it's down there, you still have that mentality a lot of like, I'm going to shoot it no matter what it is. And I don't begrudge anybody for that. But it's like, I've hunted public land here in Oklahoma. And it's like, a couple weeks ago, I filmed 5 or 6 does all within bow range. Nothing was like, they were all decent size, but like I'm like, it's not even a good mature doe, so I'm not, you know, I didn't even shoot it. I just had more fun filming. And you know, then it's like I had 2 week deer and black powder on my place. I actually I looked, I was like, man, that's a big body doe. I was actually coming out and looked at it and was 100 yards away, and it was standing there looking at me, and I picked my rifle up, you know, my black powder, and I look at it 2-3 weeks ago, whenever black powder was, and I'm like, that's a big body doe. Then it turns its head. It only had a half rack. The other side it got broke off. I was like, man, I sure am glad I actually waited and paid attention, like, because I didn't want to shoot it facing me. And I was like, because I thought it was a doe. If it would have been a doe, I was going to shoot it when it turned. But when it turned its head, I'm like, you know, I'm glad that because it's a nice buck. It's got great potential, but it's like, you know, I could have killed it either way, but it was like, you know, I'm not going to shoot it just because it's got great potential. And like I said, like moving here for me was an eye-opening experience because like there's so many big mature bucks like that you haven't opportunity at, no matter where you're at. Even y'all's public land here has great deer on it. And you know, and I know I kind of went on a ramble there, and I apologize, but it's like, it's looking at, you know, Oklahoma as a, you know, then like you said, the out-of-state hunters, a lot of people talk about it, and not trying to drag you down a bad path here, but, you know, they talk about the going up on the license to stop, you know, to help cut back on out-of-state hunters and cut back on lease prices. That's not going to happen. Like, if you got the money that you're paying for a big lease, you're going to have the money to pay for a license too. Like,
Right. And you know, I just got back from a trip to Texas. I got some buddies down in South Texas that have a big ranch down there, and they invited me to come down. And it's the Texas out-of-state license is $315, and you get to kill 3 bucks and 2 does on that $315 license. So, and Texas isn't hurting. You know, Texas is not hurting for deer. So they're not doing anything to try and reduce the number of bucks that are killed. You know, they're just let people build the bucks they want to and let them do it that way. But they, you know, the price on the licenses, I understand what they're trying to do. I understand they're trying to make it an elite state, kind of like Kansas, you know, but if they want to do that, they just need to make it draw hunt, you know, make it draw hunt and go from there. And whatever the price they want to put on them, put it that way. But, you know, make Oklahoma non-resident draw state only and go from there.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that's what, you know, like, I think I don't see it happening soon, but I kind of feel like, you know, 5-10 year mark, I think that's going to be more of where they're pushed. Like, they may be at it by then, just from the, you know, the things you hear. And I don't know if it's going to, I really don't think it's going to hurt, but, you know, and but I don't know how much it'll help, or hurt, but it could hurt in the revenue that comes in at that point. But you look at Nebraska, they limited their over-the-counter tags like 10,000 on their bow or whatever, and now they're pretty much moving over to a draw state.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's happening. It's becoming, you know, like you said, just trying to make elite deer like herds, and you know, but you look at Missouri's not hurting, and they kill. If you look at the numbers of what they kill every year, just in rifle season, like their 11 to 15 day rifle season, whatever it is, they'll kill 300,000 deer.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's insane. And but I guess we'll get line back out to where you know, tell us how you like said you just come back from Texas. How was that hunt?
Oh, it was great. I killed 3 deer. I killed a big 152-inch typical that was considered a call. I went down there on a management hunt. So I'm just there I'm on a 14,000 acres low fence, protein fed ranch that has got these giant freaking deer on it. And you go on there, and the first day we were there, we had 4 hunters. All 4 of us shot a management buck. One of the ranch guys that owns the ranch was there, shot a 207-inch deer on low fence. I killed that 152, and it was a cull because it had short G2s and it hadn't improved over the last couple of years. So they let me take it out. And to me, it was a giant.
Yeah.
But I killed two 20-inch wide 8-points that they wanted taken out too. So I got 3 ice chests full of bone meat and one nice European mount and a couple of nice little 8-point racks that I threw on the hearth.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it's fun.
That is awesome. And that's then how's your Oklahoma season going this year?
It's not going too bad. I've got a big one that I'm chasing, and he's real close he daylights every now and then, but he's hanging around. I'm getting pictures of him almost every other day, but they're at night. So I figure I'm going out. I'm leaving Tuesday, and I'm trying to talk myself into just staying out there until I kill him. But we'll see how that goes.
That's exactly. See, now like last year, like here on my place last year, I mean, first I bought the place in March, threw a camera up, and I started getting deer, like September, like consistently and looking at them and everything. And like last year was great, like deer regular and everything. This year, the acorn crop I think affected me big time because like I have like 20 acres of woods that's all oak that ties into like 1,000 acres of oak. So it's like you catch them moving through and everything, but nothing's been real consistent until like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago when it started raining and everything. So it's starting to make the acorns go bad. So now they're starting to get more like you can get them to the feeders and stuff. And it's like I've had deer that I've watched on my like this year, some does and everything. Then probably last Thursday I went and not this past Thursday, the Thursday before, so like a week and a half ago, I went on the back corner of my property, and there was a little cedar tree there that had a rub on it that was fresh. So I was like, okay, cool. So I just put a cheap Tasco Walmart camera on it because I couldn't find any of my, I didn't have any that I could pull of my, like mobile cameras. So I just threw an SD card on it, and that was like Thursday. That Saturday, I told my youngest son, hey, the camera back there by the area that we've been seeing those does that you were hunting during youth. He said, okay. So we go back there, and there's like 5 trees had the rubs on them at this point. And over like 2-day difference, and there was on the camera there was a 4-point, a 6-point, and an 8-point making these rubs, and so a bunch of does. So I told him, I said, look, we're not going to go back in there until like opening a rifle, and I'll take you in there and let you shoot one of the does. And he's like, okay. But that's been like the gist of my season. Like I've had some good deer show up at night, and a couple like decent deer daylight, but just it's not been consistent for me. And it's like last year there was deer daylight every day, and it was good bucks daylight every day. This year's just been totally different. So I'm hoping it's just the acorns, and next year's a totally different ball game. Because, last year wasn't a real strong acorn crop. This year is a massive one. So I'm hoping that's what it is. Because if not, my whole game changed. So hopefully it's just a year slump. But I'll end up getting. I could have shot a couple does on public land. I could have shot a couple does on my place. I just haven't shot anything because sometimes I'm just like, nah. If I shoot it, I gotta drag it out. I gotta clean it. I gotta. Sometimes it's just like.
Oh yeah. Well, I've had acres falling. I guarantee you a month and a half.
Yeah.
I have different kind of acre or different kind of oak trees that are on these different ridges, and You know, I had acorns fall a month and a half ago, and the deer just completely disappeared and went to the acorns. And they started kind of drifting back to the feeders, and then now I just hunted a stand last week a couple days that I had acorns falling, sounded like rain falling, and so they're still falling, and the deer are still hitting them. I just, like you said, the rain's going to make them rot a little bit, and hopefully they'll get back on a little better pattern. Of course, with the rut going, it's going to screw that up, but.
That's another thing like that cracks me up. Like the rut, the rut. Like it. Let's see. Friday the 1st, I was leaving about 9-10 in the morning, and a big 10-12 point, big massive, big horn deer, damn near runs into my truck chasing a doe like 300 yards from my house. Right.
Yeah.
On the road. My neighbor between myself and that, and like. We've talked. He's like, dude, I don't have any rut activity. He's like, I ain't got a scrape. I ain't got rubs. My rubs started, like I said, a week and a half ago, and the scrapes just opened up like last week. But 300 yards away, I guess it was just a doe that came in early, and that buck was on her. And it was like, because I was like, oh, cool. Like, because I had a week off in that time frame because I actually switched jobs. So I took a week off between the two jobs because I'm like, the 4th through like the 11th I was off. I'm like, oh yeah, I ought to catch the rut. I ought to be good. No. No. I missed it. I'm like by a week, I guess, because it started picking up on mine like last week, seeing some activity. But like I said, the week before on that 1st, there was a good buck chasing a doe 300-400 yards out my driveway. So I'm like, this is perfect. Nothing on my place. And I'm like, geez, man. Then like one of my other neighbors that just bought, he's a Texas guy, and he bought some property down the road from me, real cool guy. He bought like a little 20-acre section. He's got deer daylighting and everything, and like, you know, we got same bucks on camera because we're only like a half a mile apart, and they're traveling, and we were laughing about it because he's like, they're not chasing the does though. He said, I got bucks and does at the same feeder eating. Like, yeah. I was like, I don't know what's going on. I was like, it just seems a little off this year.
Yeah, it's weird. Like you said, you know, you'll get a buck or you'll get a doe that goes in, an early doe, and you know, it's all over. But because here's the deal, every buck on the place, the second they peel that velvet, they're ready to breed.
Yep.
Now, I'm not saying that they're in rut, but I'm saying that they are equipped to breed as soon as that velvet comes off. So that's the bucks start thinking about that. The does aren't worried about it. The does aren't ready to breed until they come into estrus. But the bucks are doing nothing but, they're coming to the feeders. They're doing their normal pattern. But in the back of their mind, the first time they smell a doe in heat, they lose their freaking mind.
Yes.
You know, and they start running after her, looking for her, and following her around. I got my big boy 2 weeks ago. I got pictures of him shadowing. You know how they'll tend a doe, they'll shadow them. I had him shadowing a doe up in this little oak flat. I got 2 or 3 pictures of him shadowing this doe, and which meant that she was ready to breed, and that was 2 weeks ago. And then I got, does that'll. When I was hunting last week, I had a couple does walk out, and this time of year, every time a doe walks out, I immediately start looking behind her.
Yeah, you got to be ready.
Yeah, neither one of them had a buck with them, so I don't know, it's a crapshoot really to guess when the rut's going to be and when it's going to hit and how hard it's going to hit and all that good stuff. If I see it happening, I believe it's happening.
Oh, that's me. Like, I laugh all the time because, like, especially with the way Facebook is, everybody can post and see everything, and like everybody's always posting, and it's like it can be like, September in South Louisiana when it's early bow season, and they're like, oh, the buck was, the rut was on. Why? Because you took the same trail 2 hours after you saw a doe. Like, a lot of people don't even know what rut is, and it's like, and what you just said, like, they don't realize that as soon as the horns peel, they're ready. The doe dictates everything.
Yep.
And and it's like, it doesn't have to be cold weather. Like, a lot of people always got to have that cold snap. No, that's just, I think, makes us feel better, and like it makes the deer maybe more frisky due to the fact that it's not 100 degrees and they're not getting all lathered up chasing a doe.
Right.
But if it took cold weather, then Florida would have no deer.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
that cracks me up with just how people are with it. But let's see. Your grandfather got you into hunting. You've been hunting most of your life.
Yep.
How old were you first killed?
I had just turned, it was Christmas Day of 1974, so I had just turned 15 on the 15th of the month. So I just turned 15. I was dating a girl whose dad and brother worked at this big ranch northwest of Laredo, Texas in Webb County, and they had been taking me every day for like the last week trying to get me on a deer. And Christmas Day, I got on a big wide 8-point when I was 15. My dad had told me, I'd asked him, could I get it mounted? And he had said, well, if you kill a big one, we'll mount it. And so he wasn't thinking I'd kill anything. And I ended up killing a big, nice one. He had to mount it, which was kind of cool. But, I still get, in fact, it's hanging over me right now. It's in my computer room over my computer screen.
That is awesome.
My first one, yeah.
Okay. So that's pretty cool. I bet he didn't make any more deals like that, huh?
No more deals like that.
That's usually how it goes. That's what so you got a good Christmas present that year.
Oh yeah.
That's what my youngest son killed his first deer in 22. He was 8 years old. So 2022, 8 years old, the day before Christmas Eve, so December 23rd, and it was our first year in Oklahoma. Like, snow was on the ground. Like, you couldn't ask for any, just the better, like all the story tells for it, fairy tale.
Yeah.
And what was funny though is there was like 7 deer out there, and he had my crossbow, and he's like, which dot, Dad? And I'm trying to think, because I have a 10-point M1 that I won on one of those Facebook raffle groups.
Yeah.
It came in a box. We had to put it together. My cousin shot it and sighted it in. I put it in the carriage case, and that was it. I don't use it. And he was like, so I was like, you want to shoot? Like, you can shoot it. He's like, okay. So I'm like trying to figure out, like, the deer I'm looking at is like 20 yards, 15, 20 yards. I'm like, which dot should he use? And I'm trying to do the math in my head. And about that time, just whop! And deer takes off everywhere. Like, there was 7 or 8 deer, like I said, and they just scatter. And he's like, and I saw hair fly and everything. And he's like, did I get it? I'm like, yeah. He's like, where'd it go? I said, I don't know. I said, you didn't shoot the one I was looking at. He's like, well, no, there was one a little further back. Because I told him, I said, shoot. The one close was like decent size. It wasn't massive. But there was a big mature doe about 30, 35 yards. I'm telling him shoot the one closer that was, like little big, like a yearling doe, like nothing huge, but I'm going to let him shoot that one because she's close. The rest are way back. He shoots this big mature doe at like 35 yards with a crossbow. He's never shot it. I'm trying to figure out which one. And he double lungs her. She runs like 15, 20 yards, falls over dead. And I'm like, all excited too. But after the fact, I'm like, which dot did you use? He said, I just put all 3 on her and pulled the trigger. Like, so it was just meant to be. It was luck. Cause I was like trying to figure out. I'm like, you didn't shoot, because the deer I'm looking at just took off, but I see hair fly further back, and I'm like, he said, what, did I hit her? I'm like, which one did you shoot? Like, because at first I'm like, did he just shoot 2? And it was like, and because that one was clear and everything, and so I was like, okay, well that one further back was good and clear, I guess, to him, and he ended up killing her, but I was probably more excited than he was, and he was excited, but when it was all over with, and he actually got there and saw the deer and could take pictures with it and everything, it was what hunting's about, and and so that was probably the coolest experience I have deer hunting. It was my son killing one. I'm like, it's like my daughter, she's 4. She wants to hunt already. I'm like, I can't wait till she's a little bigger and I'll let her shoot one, because that was my son shoot one was the most thrilling thing I've done ever deer hunting. It was better. I killed my first one when I was 10, and it was in I actually still know the date and the time. It was December the 9th, like 7:15 in the morning.
Yeah.
And it's like, and that was almost 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's like,
what's funny is I'm 64. I'm 64 years old. I'll be 65 in December, and I've hunted since I was 14. I've killed probably over 50 deer, and every single one of them, I can tell you the story, what time of day it was, how far away the deer was. I can tell you everything about every single one of those over 50 deer. But I can't. There's all kind of stuff I can't remember, but I can dang sure remember about my deer.
Yep, that's me. And another thing, and my wife gives me crap about it all the time. We can be going down the road at 70 miles an hour and 500 yards across the field. I'll be like, look at that deer.
Yeah.
I go to the refrigerator and can't find the ketchup.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah.
And but those stories stick with you. And it's like I actually did a podcast with a guy yesterday that has an app called My Wilderness Harvest, and you put all your information in it, like the deer you killed, and the picture and everything, and it's like a diary or whatever, and like it can be used. I was like, so instead of using it just for kills, you could use it like for your pre-scouting, like you're putting pictures in out of your camera and everything, because it's going to catalog it and everything. I said, then okay, at 7:15 on December the 12th, this deer showed up. So usually good bucks, and the theory with it, and that deer are deer, but usually within a 24 to 48 hour period every year, they show back up in the same area.
Right.
And it's like, so if you had that to catalog and you had a good buck you were chasing and it's all in one spot, I was like, that's pretty cool. But he was talking about, put it in there, and he's like, I can't remember all the deer. And he was in his 60s, and he's like, I can't remember all the deer I killed. And I was like, I have a list. I said, with the gun I was using, the location, the time, the date. And he starts laughing. I said, I've done it ever since the day I killed my first deer, I wrote it down. I was like, I make sure I keep a list. I was like, I have it on like my computer. I have it on my phone in my notes. I have it on a hard copy. I was like, that way I have it. And I was like, but I've always been just weird with numbers and like everything. I said, because it's just that repetitive cycle. I said, then I'm competitive to start with. So like the earliest I've ever killed a deer was November the 4th. So this year, like up till November the 4th, like I hunted hard. November the 4th, it gets here, I hadn't shot a deer, and I'm like, and I could, like I said, I let deer walk, but I was like, man, now I got to wait till next year to beat that. It was like, it was this letdown. And my wife was like, really? Like, I was like, yeah. But, so your plans this year, you're chasing a good buck.
Yeah.
All right.
When I started the year, there were 3 of them. I got on this lease last year, and a buddy of mine had called me. I had a lease that I got off of, and I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. And a buddy called me and said that he had a lease out by Eufaula and was wanting to get somebody on the lease. And I said, I'll come out and look at it. So he had me out to look at it, and I got on it, and he had told me that there were some decent deer. And so I put a couple of cameras up and started getting some pictures of some decent bucks. And there were 3 really nice deer on there last year. There was a real wide one. There was an old 8-point that was just a big bully, and then there was a big 9-point, and he was after the big 9-point. Well, the 9-point this year went downhill, which was really weird. We figure he's 5.5 years old, but his right side just completely shrunk, and we can't find that he's got an injury or anything, but his left side stayed the same. His right side went down. The bully 8-point turned into a big 9-point. And then the big wide one that I'm after just got bigger. And so I've really just been after that wide one. And he's the one that I said I'll get pictures of at night. I'll get a picture every now and then of him daylighting. And about every other day I get a picture of him over by the feeder. And so he's there. I just got to figure out a way to get in front of him during the daylight.
Okay. Yeah, you follow, you're actually, depends on what area when you say you follow. I don't live too far out of Henrietta, so that's not too far apart.
Yeah.
So, which, this side of the state, surprising, like, the size of the deer they have over here, because, like, you're getting into, like, the foothills and stuff, and it's, like, it's a little different terrain, and it's got some pretty good-sized deer out here. Then it's because, like, and hunting Oklahoma was, like I said, totally different, because, like, you can go in southeast Oklahoma, and, it's mountainous, I guess, for Oklahoma.
And all that timberland.
Big timberland. You come up here, and it's kind of a little different, hilly, and you can find some low-lying areas and everything. You go out west, and it's just, if you're going to try and set up to see as far as you can see, you're going to see for miles. Like, it's...
Oh, yeah. I had a place out by Calumet for a while. It was right before I got this place by Eufaula, and it was all, wheat fields, and there was a creek that ran down the middle of the place. It was the only place that there were trees.
Yep.
And those deer would just follow that creek like crazy, and so I would just set up on that creek and ambush them there.
That's what my first ever year out here in Oklahoma to hunt. January of 22, I found late December, early January. I found a lease that I was interested in, so I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna drive out there and look at it.
Yeah.
So I drive out here, talk to the owner, everything, look at it, and he's like, it's not leased out. I was like, okay. And he's like, go look at it. There's going to be nobody on it. So I was like, okay. So I get out there and I'm looking at it. I'm like, how the heck do I hunt this place? Like, because it was out towards Mangum. So, kind of
Right.
open. And I'm like, the heck? So as I'm standing there, like, looking at the map, aerial map of it on my phone, I look up and I watch 7 does come across a little bitty trench, basically, with some trees on it, go across, jump a fence, and go across the field. I'm like, well, that's simple enough.
Right.
And I then that August is when we moved up here. So August of 22, well, July 31st of 22 was when I moved to Oklahoma, and I messed around, didn't lease that. Then I was gonna, I almost leased some property last year in southeast Oklahoma, down by Broken Bow, and my work schedule had me out in Guyman. So I was like,
Yeah.
I don't have time to. If I get it, I'm gone all week. I'm not at home. So on the weekends, I'm trying to catch stuff up at the house. So I didn't end up getting the lease. And I'm like, I should probably just got it and sat on it because it would have been worth the investment. Like,
Yeah.
but that's one thing. Like, hunting Oklahoma's a different ball game. And we'll have you. Let's see, different species here. So have you hunted any elk in Oklahoma? Have you hunted them? Is what I'm saying.
Well, I've never hunted elk in Oklahoma. I've hunted elk in Colorado. Didn't do any good, but I put in for the Wichita Mountains draw every year. Just
Yes.
haven't got drawn out yet.
Yeah.
And I know there's some other wild herds in different places. There's some in Cookson, I guess, around the Wichita Mountains. Some of the private land around there has the elk get off of the refuge and come on their land, but never have hunted them.
So that's what maybe a few weeks ago now, a month. Did you see the one that got ran over on I-35 up around Guthrie?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did.
I actually passed by it while it was still there.
Well,
I was
that's pretty
headed.
crazy.
Yeah.
They I guarantee you, if you just let them go, they'll be on around the whole state before you know it.
Oh yeah. Because the same thing happened in Missouri. Now they have a season for them now because, and it's draw. But 10 years ago, maybe 12, there was a little girl that shot an elk, and there wasn't supposed to be any elk within 250 miles of where she was at.
Wow.
And she it become a big thing because her dad called DNR or whatever, and they confiscated it. Then a lot of people like made a big deal about it because like she was like 13. He had her set up on a stand, and he was like a few hundred yards away or whatever. She thought she shot a deer. She was like, "Daddy, I just shot the biggest deer." Like, and
Yeah.
then people were like, "Oh well, she should have been sure of her target. She didn't know what she was shooting." And it's like, well, she shot it with a 243 and killed it in its tracks. I'm pretty sure she made a good shot. It was just she had never seen an elk. And I'm like, it's like, maybe 12, 13. I've never seen an elk. I might think it was a big deer too because it was like a spike elk. Like,
Right.
it's like you never know. But all right, well, that was. I know you got a lot to do and you're getting ready to leave, so I don't want to take too much more of your time. I just wanted to kind of have a BS session with you about Oklahoma hunting and how they do the politics of hunting around here, and I think we've hit most of those.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate you taking your time. Give us all the places that people can find you again. That way I can put it in the notes too.
Yeah, just I've got a page called Hartbeat of Oklahoma Outdoors, and it's spelled like my name. It's HARTBEAT of Oklahoma Outdoors. I've got over 12,000 followers on that page, and it's basically just a page for the outdoors. It's just a guy like myself that loves the outdoors and just wants to share it. So I started that page. I'm an admin on Craig's page, the Oklahoma Bowhunter page. I'm an admin on Chase's page, the Oklahoma Whitetails, and on James's page, the Oklahoma Deer Hunter. So you can find me on all those pages, posting stuff and just kind of keeping abreast of everything that's going on in the deer hunting world in Oklahoma.
All right, we got Hartbeat of Oklahoma Outdoors, Oklahoma Bowhunter, Oklahoma Deer Hunter, and Oklahoma. I missed the other one there.
Whitetails, Oklahoma Whitetails.
All right. So, well, give me. I appreciate you. Give me just a second. So that's going to conclude our episode with Bill. It was a fun time talking to him. I look forward to talking to him again, getting some more info. I just wanted to talk about Oklahoma and the things that are coming up, like we did. So everybody check his stuff out, like he left in the comments. I'll put the link. I'll put the sites in there. Y'all check them out. Delta Lodge Outdoors. Julius Craig.